Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. We want to welcome everyone here to our inaugural Ghost and Ventless Kitchen Forum, and really appreciate you taking the time to join us. I think it's going to be time well spent. You know, when we planned this, we didn't realize our ghost-themed event's proximity to Halloween, but it turned out to be really lucky for us as we're able to get some of these cheap decorations at closeout prices. So good for us. We planned a really busy day today. We got expert presentations, breakout sessions, some fabulous food, and of course the premiere of some of the latest tech in food service. I'd really like to extend our gratitude to our speakers, our chefs, our associates, all who made this event possible. We arranged our equipment presentations around various vignettes of menu and operational silos. If you haven't already, please take a moment during the day to scan the QR code that's in the ante room here for a look at the Leslie system. It interacts with our Carter Hoffman Pup Cabinet, which is the pickup cabinet, to capitalize on its IoT capabilities. When you receive the text message back, you'll be able to access your quote-unquote order in the appropriate cubby. At 11 today, we're honored to have James Walker, Senior VP of Nathan's Famous, as our keynote speaker, right here on the main stage at 11. At 1 through 3, we'll present a series of 4 breakouts in the conference rooms, which will repeat once each. So you're welcome to attend any or all. Our chefs will be cooking throughout the day, so help yourself to their offerings. And at 4, we'll have a panel discussion that you're really not going to want to miss. Wrap up the day with our networking and inspiration. A few reminders. So remember to, hope I did it, silence these things when we're making presentations. The restrooms are at the end of the main hall in the front offices. Boy, it works better with these on. And there's an additional one to the left of the main hood. This forum is our first effort at a hybrid event, so we're streaming live through Zoom and Facebook and no LinkedIn. They want to charge us. To hell with them. We hope you find some value here, and it's a great pleasure to see so many of you here. Thank you all for attending. And Joe Ferry Jr. will now be introducing our first speaker.
Thanks, Joe Sr. Thank you to all attendees, sponsors, factory associates, team members, and presenters. Our first speaker is largely responsible for any success that this forum may experience. He has been a steadfast supporter of all of our efforts here, a valued mentor, a visionary, and a friend. He joined Evo America in 2012, sparking the production development work in the griddle, plancha, and cooktop categories. Evo became one of Oregon's 100 fastest growing private companies for 3 consecutive years. He directed the launch of the eVent, Ventless Griddle, in 2015, with Benihana as the leading customer. This patented innovation became the catalyst that resulted in the Evo and Middleby merger at the end of 2018. Our presenter is a leading industry authority on ventless commercial kitchen solutions and creating unique F&B concepts. He has educated many on how to incorporate high-quality commercial cooking action stations in non-traditional locations, taking essentially dead spaces and creating new pockets of revenue. Since joining Middleby through the acquisition of Evo, he has been working with FCSI designers and operators on various ventless action stations across all of the Middleby brands. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to Scott Heim.
Well, thank you, Joe, and good morning. It's great to see some familiar faces, but a lot of new faces in the audience. And I am really pleased to kick off this Ghost Kitchen Conference at Pacifica Ferry and talk about some of the key trends, key factors that are pushing the whole ghost kitchen, off-premise, and dark kitchen selling segment forward. But before I start, I want to see a show of hands. How many hands in here? How many people voted and said that the off-premise Star Kitchens would actually see sales decline over the next, let's say, 12 months, 24 months? How many said that sales were going to go below 50%? Everyone here is expecting the sales to keep going more than 50%. Well, shoot, now I can't pull anyone out of the audience and say, you'll be the negative one, Chris. All right. It's nonsense. Well, we are going to hit these topics, and if it's on the screen right now, what I want to do is go through really 4 agenda points. I want to hit what is the driving force? What are the factors pushing the sell-in segment that's absolutely been accelerating over the past 2 years? The second thing we all have to acknowledge, and we want to discuss the shootout that is underway right now. And it's the shootout where you can see likely winners. And James, I heard you speak about Ghost Kitchens back in June. You look at what Nathan's is doing, they are actually a pretty good guidepost as to who the likely winners are. And we'll talk about Ghost Kitchen brands out of Canada as well as other international operators. We want to talk about the large commissary style operators, those that are doing more than 20 restaurant brands. We want to talk about the real estate owners. Obviously, we're talking about the guys that already have the parking lot spaces. They already have the sites by the colleges and universities. We want to go into the pods and vessels. It is absolutely staggering to look what Reef has done in the past 4.5 years and the numbers, which we can't share, but Middleby is heavily involved with Remarkable Foods. It is absolutely staggering the growth that's happening in North America. The next area we want to go into is we want to share with all of you lessons learned. And there are some real clear pinch points that we have seen, whether it's been the large giants like Dubai, Qtopi. You look at what's happening with Tiffin Labs in Singapore, things that are happening over and over that we can share with all you today as well. The last thing is the potential in terms of what Middleby's using with a 6-step process. And you see all the equipment that Pacifica Ferry has here. I'll tell you right now, the first of the steps that we take is to look at the culinary output. You've got to look at that lunchtime bewitching hour, or if you're putting that ghost kitchen operation by a college or a university, it's going to be the Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night dinners. So these are the topics I'm going to hit. At any time, please stop, interject, ask questions, challenge me. I mean, we're all planning, we all believe we're going to see more and more sales with the off-premise. I was hoping we'd have some hands say no, they thought it was going to go down. But at that point, let's go to the next area from the agenda and let's talk about the driving factors. So if you look at the driving factors on the grid, or on the screen, which you'll see in just a minute, there are a couple things that are staggering figures. And this comes back with a US focus in terms of millennials and Gen Zs. Number one, 60% of all US households have ordered delivery or takeout at least once per week. And this all really started during COVID and it's only been accelerating. The convenience of home delivery has been steadily reinforced because of the smart apps that we have on our phone. Think about what happened over COVID when we started to go back to restaurants. Did you get the paper menu handed to you, or were you directed to use the QR code and actually click to see the menu? So we're learning more and more to actually use our phones as an ordering mechanism in terms of the process. We also were trained over COVID to accept third-party fees. Now, I personally have 3 millennial boys, and I'm looking at all the ordering they're doing, and I'm, as the dad, getting a little angry on the delivery costs. My oldest son challenged me and said, Dad, if we were going out to the favorite Italian restaurant in Portland, Oregon, we'd spend more on the tip. What's your problem? I'm getting what I want. Mom's getting what she wants. It's the convenience factor that is not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. The next thing is subscription services. It's amazing how you're seeing all the subscription services. And I'd ask all of you right now, how many of you have Amazon Prime? Most of the hands are going up. We're used to the deliveries coming to our house. We're used to that convenience. Why would anyone think that there's going to be a slowdown in terms of off-premise ghost kitchen sales? It's all about convenience, and we have definitely seen the millennials and Gen Zs adopt this. They want that convenience factor. Lastly, Almost 2/3 of the millennials said they order food now to accommodate the TV shows or the sports programs. They want it coming home. So COVID only accelerated what was a natural progression. And as I look out into the audience right here, a lot of us have been using the first original ghost kitchen operator for decades. When we were in college, what showed up? You want a pizza delivered and guaranteed in 30 minutes? Domino's Pizza. Domino's was the original ghost kitchen operator. And now you see everyone jumping into it. Just last month at the Fast Casual show, we were able, several of us that were here from Middleby, were able to hear from Panera talking about off-premise. It is here to stay. All their strategic directions are based on what they can do to help drive that off-premise sale. They're even doing the $8.99 subscription to get more people as part of their program. Smoky Bones, an emerging chain, they're using the ghost kitchen to mitigate the cost of the brick and mortar. And they get to go into new areas to see if the demographics are there. Wow Bao, the same deal. And with those dumplings, they transfer and travel rather easily as well. So they're going to keep moving when it comes to off-premise and dark sales. The question with Amazon, there are other competitors that haven't even started that you got to wonder, are they going to be jumping into this space as well? I mean, everywhere you look, you see those Amazon vans and trucks that are going out there. So these are the driving factors, and I submit it's not going to slow down. Let's go to the next slide, which is, yes, there's a shootout. And the shootout, the leaders, the identified leaders right now, I submit to all of you, Kitopi, out of Dubai, Reef, Remarkable Foods, Ghost Kitchen Brands, thank you. Ghost Kitchen Brands out of Toronto, and then C3 out of Beverly Hills, backed by SBE. These are the emerging leaders, and I'm glad to see James's head nod as well, because he's dealing with all these guys and looking at them. The issues and struggles. Cloud Kitchens based out of the Bay Area. The Middleby team has been dealing with that group. We have seen 100, not 50, not 60, 100% turnover twice in the past 2 years. Kitchen United with great fanfare, with Jollibee out of Southeast Asia coming in there. They've got all this hoopla and press. They just did the acquisition of Zool. But watch out with Kitchen United. Some of the operators, some of the brands going in are very concerned about their financial picture. That's what we mean by a shootout going on. Then you get Tiffin Labs. They've got all the real estate money out of Singapore. They've got all the plans to work with hotels, but they've only started in 2 sites, and we don't see them moving very quickly right now. And then you get to the perplexed and confused. I almost wanted to use the Led Zeppelin, dazed and confused. You look at DoorDash. And if you follow DoorDash, I checked the market cap. The market capitalization on DoorDash on 11/12 was $83 billion. It is stunning. Now, granted, they're delivery, but they only have 2 ghost kitchen operations, and they will be pressured by one of their key investors, SoftBank, to start to expand the whole idea of getting that kitchen revenue, getting that meal revenue going forward. Go back to the beginning of the list. I've said one of the emerging leaders is Kitopi in Dubai. Guess who invested behind them? SoftBank as well. And they invested back in the spring, and now their market cap is $1 billion, a unicorn in the Middle East. Then you look at DoorDash, as I said, and you look now at Deliveroo in the UK. These are the guys already trying to figure out how to make the deliveries. They will be making the food. They'll want the revenue for that meal product going out to the customers as well. So this is what we say about the shootout. I'll go to the next slide. And this, when I say Kitopi, this helps explain something that I viewed as staggering. When I was there in March of 2020, saw the actual kitchen and the bustle and the bang and the hitting. This is where, again, Middleby, we get to learn some of the pinch points. Immediately we said, time out. You've got all these guys running around crisscrossing, banging into each other. You need this conveyor belt. And I know that's a little bit small on the screen, but we proposed using the Follett conveyor system where the meals are prepared at those ventless action stations, as well as with the refrigeration prep tables, put butt end right to that conveyor belt, and all the meals going down into one assembly area. While you're running around grabbing it all, go into one area to make sure you get meal accuracy figures up. We propose this. This is going forward, 2 conveyor belts with between 32 and 40 plus refrigeration prep tables going into the actual Ketobi setups. Let's go to the next slide, and that's talking about the pods as well as the vessels. And what's stunning, Reef really came to life just 4.5 years ago, starting in London. And we have a key teammate at Middleby. She almost lived down in Miami all of 2020, getting this ready to roll. I just talked to the team looking at shifts that they're going to be making in the first quarter next year. They are not slowing down at all. They are approaching 16,000 vessels or pod units. The mobile assets are not slowing down. It's an interesting kind of a setup. They do have commissaries or main kitchens. They bring the vessels and pods back to that area in the early morning hours. They clean the unit, they restock it, and it goes right back out in the early morning hours. They've definitely got their act together. Same area, that second bullet point talks about remarkable foods. And I've got the leader. Where is Justin? Is he back cooking right now? Justin's leading the way from Middleby with remarkable foods. And as I said in my opening comments, it is staggering. It's stunning just how fast they're growing. They are buying out so many of the actual Sprinter vans. They had a shift from an American, it was Ford, and they had a shift over to Mercedes-Benz. They're competing with who to get the Sprinter vans? Amazon. That's how many they're buying right now. And it's absolutely incredible. But the meals are coming directly to the household. It's a New Jersey-based enterprise. Reef is down in Miami. The vans are outfitted with mobile kitchens. It's higher priced, but again, they're seeing fabulous growth, and it's really high quality food. So the next one. Chris, what was the question? Oh, good. The shootout does provide opportunities for new players, and this is what's really been interesting, extremely interesting. Walmart, and this is all public, I can discuss it because it's been in the press. Walmart said bye-bye to McDonald's in 584, just about 600 locations all around the US as well as in Canada. And the team that got in there to grab that space, and there are 4 typical layouts that McDonald's had in these Walmarts. Dunkin' Donuts is going to lose a little bit, and so will Subway. But it was Ghost Kitchen Brands out of Toronto that got the 10-year lease. It is absolutely staggering that this is moving forward that fast. What also makes this operation different with Walmart is they believe 80% of the off-premise meal is going to be that Walmart customer. He or she's in the store, she's grabbing the food for the family, and walks out with the bag. It's a captive audience, and it's fantastic real estate. And as Ghost Kitchen Brands in Toronto got this success with Walmart, what do you think happens next? Walmart is becoming more and more of a competitor to the retail grocery. Now Loblaws in Canada, Kroger in Ohio, with all the different divisions across the US, and just recently Raley's in Sacramento is saying, hey, Ghost Kitchen Brands, we want the store within the store. We want that off-premise meal. And it was Kroger, it's not the most pleasant way to describe this, Kroger said they want to go after share of stomach. They want that $12 to $18 meal ring, and they've got the real estate. And I was looking for Ralph Goldbeck from Kitchens to Go. I think he'll be here later. Oh, he's not going to be here. But Ralph Kitchens to Go does make a pod, and we have talked to Brixmor Real Estate right here in New York. Brixmor has contacted Middleby saying, put the parties together. We want the pods, not in the back of the grocery space, the strip malls they own, but right there on the side or the front. And what Brixmor owns is just under 400 spots at Whole Foods, Publix, Kroger, mostly the higher end grocery stores. They've got the real estate, and they want that Perry's Pizza, or they want that Big Chicken. They want that emerging, cool, new trend, new development going right into those parking lots. So when I talk about the opportunities for new players, it's not just Walmart, it's going to be retail grocery, as I said, going after that share of stomach where they want that off-premise sale. They want that meal. And then just this week, Inspire Brands, I'm sure most of you saw this in the press, Inspire Brands just said on November 10th, they just opened up their Alliance Kitchen down in Atlanta. And they're going to be able to immediately go forward with their own lineup of Arby's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Sonic, and Jimmy John's. How many other emerging chains? Now, because Middleby does a ton of work with the QSRs, we know what other brands are looking at. And I can tell you, this is also going to be an opportunity for emerging chains. It's going to be a way to go in and expand that competition where they want that meal ring. So from the shootout on new players, my very last area is lessons learned that I wanted to share. And this is something we see reoccur over and over again. Number one, refrigeration prep tables, inadequate space, and picking the wrong equipment. When Ketopi opens up a new commissary, and a reminder, they're going to bring in 20, 30 different brands, the number one cost allocation for that kitchen with Ketopi is what? Refrigeration, whether it's the walk-in coolers or the refrigeration prep tables. It's 60% of that new kitchen operation. It's the refrigeration. It's not the cooking equipment. We also know from, and I won't say which one, but with the pod and vessel guys, as those units go out and they're positioned in the parking lots, they're getting the meals ready, a lot of times they've picked the cheapest refrigeration, and those condensers are breaking down in 3 to 6 months. What a freaking fouled up disaster, especially if you're near a college campus on a Friday and you got to go back to the main hub and you got to figure out refrigeration. So refrigeration is always underestimated, and it's one of the biggest areas to focus on. Next one is the assembly area. It's the flow. And I look at Chef Sarah, and I think of Sarah with her hands on her hips, literally berating an emerging chain out of Denver doing pizza, saying, what are you doing having the lines cross? Again, it's all about the flow, and the assembly area tends to be one of the last things some of these new operators look at. It's amazing how many young technology folks are involved in these, but they don't have as many restaurant operators that don't have the experience. So that's one of the edges that we try to do with Pacinka Ferry and Middleby. We have that Middleby Innovation Kitchen down in Dallas. We have the ad hoc kitchen. We can lay it out, bring the cameras in to show the operators what the cooking throughput can be in that ad hoc kitchen. The third area, the amp draws. You get these operators going in and they underestimate the refrigeration needs. Well, there's 20 amps on those condensers. Oh, 20 times 20, 20 times 30. Refrigeration starts to chew up all the important electrical amps. This is where it's critical, and I just had a meeting with Dallas operators just last week. I said, where's your FCSI designer? Where's your architect? You guys have got to bring them in to get the MEP, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing all set. Meal accuracy, meal accuracy. How basic is this? You get your meals, you got the family over, you're gonna watch the football game, you're gonna watch the Giants lose on TV, and so you wanna make sure the food at least is gonna be good. Okay. Meal accuracy is critical, and one of the large operators was bragging that their meal inaccuracy, or they called it meal accuracy, was 94%. So I heard that, and I said, well, if that's your average, what is it during the actual lunchtime race? And that's the problem. Meal accuracy means you've got to look at the actual layout. You got to look at where the packaging is. A lot of times the packaging's scattered out wherever they can find the space versus having it right by the assembly area. And finally, it's a bit of an eye chart, but Joe helped us. Pacinka Ferry helped us on this particular drawing. This was for a firm down in Brooklyn. We had Singer with us as well working on this. But at that top right-hand area, that was the limited space for the Grubhub, DoorDash, all the drivers, third-party coming on in. You got to think, where are they going to be when they grab the meals? And how do you ensure accuracy? As you go around today, you got to look at the puck system, the pickup cabinet. It can cut back on the labor, and you can make sure you've got the units right in that unit. So I'm going to move very quickly on time. This just shows, again, what we try to do and what we're seeing happen without not just the US, but worldwide. It's the commissaries, which is, I'm picturing that right there. It's the mobile and pod vessels. It's the kitchen suites. It's the outposts or pods, as well as even the food trucks. And the ventless is becoming one of the key things because it's flexible. You can pull things in, take it out. And you'll see later today, as Chris and I talk about electricity, I've got a full-page ad or full-page story from the Wall Street Journal talking about the electrification of everything. The electric fueled appliance is the way it's going to go. You look at the 5 boroughs of New York right now, they've mandated it. It's happening in Detroit, Chicago, Denver, California, the California Air Resource Board, that's like its own country. California's already pushed, Berkeley as well. Last slide, this is the ghost kitchen. This is our process. We evaluate the site and layout. This is all for the culinary output. That's the first thing you start with. What do you have to produce? Match the equipment and refrigeration to those menu requirements. Work with the FCSI designer, the contractors to get that MEP level set, and then double check on the permitting. One of the biggest screw ups we get is if you've got the ventless equipment and you've got fire suppression built in, you've got to get that Ancel technician there just before the fire department arrives. The good news is we've done this in 89 jurisdictions at Middleby across the US. We have 305,000 pieces of ventless equipment in restaurants globally. So we can take care of any of the challenges. 5 years ago it was an issue. It's not an issue anymore. And then finally, the installation and training. We have Pacinka Ferry as well as Middleby. We will be with the operators as you move forward. We don't throw it on our dealers, the restaurant equipment suppliers, and we don't just throw it solely on our independent reps. So I went through a lot of material very quickly. I appreciate your attention. Any questions? All right. Yeah.
Need to be under a hood?
Does not need, you're not constrained or restricted under a Type 1 hood. You can position that anywhere, just like you have it right there. It's not going to be an issue. Just like with the Perfect Fry, you've got the Wells unit or your universal hood. You can put SE, or you can put the fryers in there. You can put grills. We will talk more about the ventless portfolio. Anything you want on that menu, we've got it with our ventless, and we just got approved to do the Nico broiler at 700 degrees. And as that Whopper fat hits that electric element, it goes above 800 degrees. We have all the approval with that. So Burger King is thrilled. They can now go into stadiums and arenas. They can go into airports, all those non-traditional sites, and not be constrained under a Type 1 hood. The Ancel system and the filtration's built into the unit itself. It's built into that unit as well. Yeah, we'll show you afterwards. But absolutely, it's all squared away. Yeah. Other questions? Chris?
Talk about how ghost kitchens are going to be the way of the future. We talked about ventless technology. Can you talk about how the price difference is if you have to build in that infrastructure as opposed to just buy the equipment?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's pretty stark.
If you didn't hear Chris's question, he was saying, look, when you buy the ventless equipment, I'm assuming you're thinking there's a premium, and there is, but you really, really need to do an apples to apples comparison. When you put a Type 1 hood in with the flash and the ductwork, the compression on the roof, and it's in like let's say a Burger King, and it's just a single story standalone area, that's going to be between $23,000, $30,000 for that Type 1 hood. But as soon as you go into the Newark Airport in Terminal C, or you go into Yankee Stadium, and you've got to go 2, 3, 4 stories, you're adding another $9,000 to $11,000 just on the ducting, the flashing, and the compressors on the roof. So when Delaware North put 21 of our action stations into the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, they said the payback was the day they turned the equipment on. It was cheaper than all that. So in multi-stories, no issue. And back to the environmental aspect, what do you have to do when you turn your griddles on, your fryers on, under a Type 1 hood when you're ready to cook? You turn it on, and all that air-conditioned air in the summer is going up through the roof, or the heated air is going out as well. You can really mitigate and reduce. I'm not saying eliminate it. You still have to have that fresh air exchange, but it's a heck of a lot better than having all that go up through the roof all day long, all night long too. Other questions? Well, I have to say I was disappointed. I expected to have some hands going up thinking we'd see ghost kitchen sales going down, but we're all converted, so I'm preaching to the converted. But I'll be here the rest of the day, and I'm really looking forward to working with Big Chicken. You're going to have an emerging chain backed by great equity, including someone we all know, Shaquille O'Neal. And Josh and I have become really good friends as we've been looking at how you can expand Big Kitchen in the non-traditional spaces, and they're rocketing forward. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott, for this very informative presentation. Yes, I know I'm shorter than him. We'd like to present you with a small token for doing this for us. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Be sure not to miss our keynote presentation by James Walker, sorry about that, of Nathan's right here at 11. In the meantime, enjoy a few bites of one of our vignettes. BYOB Bagels, Stir Crazy, Pizza Botic, Sous V's Homestyle, 123 Plex Mex, and 2 hot dogs. Thank you.
By the way, the door to the right from where I stand is our traditionally our ventless kitchen. That's where the new Plexor is from Turbo Chef. This would be its premiere, so you'll want to see that. It's 3 different cooking platforms on one piece of equipment.
back up in about 5 minutes. So if you can start grabbing your seats.
Testing 1 1 1. Testing 1 1. Testing 1 1. Testing. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
If you don't know, ask Jim. Maybe he knows.
It's on.
Not that I'm, unless you're expecting any lions or anything that I might need to change. Ah, I got it. Never mind. One of our board members for Nathan. We're going to kick things back off again, so if everybody can grab a seat, please. Please find your seats. Okay, so this will move slides. Okay, folks. We're going to start things back up. We have a very special treat. It's not very often that we have an end user we've been doing business with here at Pacinka Ferry for over 40 years. So we're very honored to have a leader in the field presenting our keynote today. Mr. James Walker, CFE, is a top restaurant industry expert with a specialty in rebranding and repositioning icon American comfort brands.
So I'm gonna interrupt you. There's no way you guys need to hear all of that, right? Okay, so how about hot dog salesman, ghost kitchen operator?
That works great. Ladies and gentlemen, James Walker.
Yeah, a couple of things I don't like. Reading my own bio, which I think just dates me, and looking at my own photo. That those things creep me out a little bit. So I would like to know who's in the room, maybe before we get started, just so I know the audience. So if you're a restaurant operator, raise your hand. Okay. If you're an equipment vendor, supplier, salesman, okay. So I think we got about 90%. So like 10% of you are here for free coffee and bagels. That's, all right, great, that's my group. So I'm gonna make a couple of assumptions here. I've got a lot going on, with Nathan's. We've got a lot of growth, got a lot going on in my personal life. I'm about to fly to Serbia for a meeting. So, I spent a little time figuring out what I would talk about today, but definitely wanted to offer an opportunity for Q&A. But when I say I didn't really spend a huge amount of time focusing on this specific meeting, it's because I'm generally comfortable speaking about this category. So I didn't realize that they thought somebody would be in my place speaking that could read that monitor. So I don't know if you're able to read that, but certainly I cannot read that. So if you are able to see that, I am here as part of Nathan's Famous, Wings of New York, and Arthur Treacher's. I don't have to do this, but I love to. How many have heard of Nathan's Famous? Yeah, super fun. And it's really fun to do that kind of around the world, right? Like I said, I'm going to Serbia. How many have heard of Nathan's Famous? It probably won't be as much. How many of you have heard of Wings of New York? All right, great. Yes, the two Nathan's employees. How many of you have heard of Arthur Treacher's? Great. Yeah, they raised their hand on Wings of New York. Job security, whatever the boss says. So a couple of things I want to call your attention to, just, since you probably don't know who I am, James Walker. I've been in the industry for a long time, and really became very focused on hyper convenience a fair number of years ago, back before there was conversations really about ghost kitchens or dark kitchens, back when, a small group starting out called Uber Eats was begging me for my business. I was president of a company called Johnny Rockets. Can you imagine that? Uber calling any of you and begging for your business? Things have changed a little bit. They don't take the phone calls anymore. So back then, my focus was really, let the consumer drive the industry and drive my behaviors. And I myself am many things, but one of them is I'm a conspicuous consumer. I have a large family. I have 5 children, a couple of wives, lots of dogs, lots of chickens, and we use a lot of products and services. And it was probably 10 or 12 years ago where I just started thinking, why wouldn't I want good food brought to me where I want, when I want, how I want it, and became very, very focused on convenience and technology and what it could do for the end user. So this whole category that we're talking about today, ghost kitchens, and I'm going to continue to say ghost kitchens, and I'm going to turn it around and say, stop calling it ghost kitchens. So get ready for that. That'll be an exciting part when I say that. Really, it was something driven by my desire to cater to consumers through customization and convenience. And the ghost kitchen strategy for Nathan's Famous predates COVID. So I know in the early presentation, which there's some duplicity and overlap there, so I'll try to skip some of those things. But there was a conversation about Katopi being just a fantastic operator of these, ghost kitchens or satellite or commissary kitchens. We signed our first agreement for a delivery-only restaurant months before anybody heard the term COVID. In fact, back then, it wasn't even COVID, it was coronavirus, right? And the beer company and a bunch of PR people were able to turn that around, I guess. So this is not something within Nathan's that was driven by the pandemic. And I think that's important for those of you who are thinking of further investing in this industry or getting in for the first time is, we currently are leaders. We've got 270 plus or minus locations. And we really think that success we've had over the past year is going to accelerate. We're going to be probably doubling numbers probably every 6 to 9 months, and we're super excited about that. But it is not an answer by the Nathan's Famous team to COVID or the pandemic. Instead, it's a realization and what we believe to be an understanding on consumer needs for convenience and customization. So I think that hopefully that resonates with you a little bit. You see Nathan's Famous, which you'd all heard of, Wings of New York, which you haven't heard of, and that actually is a good thing. So Wings of New York was really an opportunity for the Nathan's Famous team to say, so we have this network of kitchens. What else can we do? What else can we provide to our operators, to our shareholders, and to our guests that would ride along with that? So we developed a virtual brand. We'll talk a little bit more about virtual brands called Wings of New York. We believe the brand architecture of Nathan's Famous is very New York centric. We say Nathan's Famous is the flavor of New York. So over the last 2.5 years, myself and the team at Nathan's has really doubled down on the New Yorkness of the brand. So 2.5 years ago when I walked in the door, we had a Philadelphia cheesesteak. And now we have a New York cheesesteak. And we changed the recipe and just that brand architecture and guardrails, if you will, about being New York. So we said, what can we do that's really New York that we can execute and operate that would add profitability and not add a lot of complexity? So we developed this concept called Wings of New York. What's super exciting about it, I think we're 35 locations right now. That's a good number of locations opened really over the last 9 months. But from a sales standpoint, Wings of New York actually outperforms Nathan's Famous. And if there's football or basketball, it really outperforms Nathan's Famous. It's not unusual for us. Nathan's Famous average delivery order size, about $24. If football is on, if college basketball is on, Wings of New York will see orders that push $200 to a single resident. So, we'll talk a little bit more about virtual brands, but that's what Wings of New York is. And then Arthur Treacher's. So some of the greatest successes I've had, or the team has had, comes out of my lack of understanding or just me looking at something the wrong way and somebody jerking me back to reality, usually my wife. In the case of Arthur Treacher's, when I came into Nathan's, we owned this English fish and chip concept that's out of Ohio. And I just had trouble with my limited intellect trying to understand how an English fish and chip company that's based in Ohio, but they were in Florida for a while when we bought them, how that was going to be part of the brand architecture of Wings of New York. I just wasn't able to figure that out. So I was the one saying, listen, we need to shut these down. Let's focus within the restaurants on these items that we think tie their roots back to New York. Having said all of that, when we started looking at where we could continue to grow our ghost kitchen portfolio, we talked to our partners, and I'm using the term partners to refer to the third-party delivery providers, so the Uber Eats and the Grubhubs and the DoorDash. And if you're in the business, you probably have feelings about those partners. You probably have feelings about their take rates. Certainly, there's a lot of, let's call it, negative press around some of their behavior. And I'm not here to try to tell you these are the best guys and they're fantastic. I'm here to tell you part of our success is by looking at these companies like Uber Eats and DoorDash and Postmates as our partners. So when we talk to them, we say, how can we grow our business? Not how can we take another 200 basis points out of your take rate? So we've built our model to allow us to be profitable with the take rates that they have in place. And our take rates are probably not better than anybody in this room, especially if you're small operators. You may have some state or city mandated maximum take rate. Nathan's Famous, we don't. So we're negotiating against kind of their rack rates. So when we look at these groups, these third-party delivery companies as partners, instead of just vendors or the enemy, which I know some people do, we said, listen, this is really working for us. We could see the momentum of these kitchens beginning to grow within our organization. Talking to some of our ghost kitchen operators, they were saying they were seeing 30 to 40% flow through on completely incremental sales. Who doesn't want 30% additional profitability on incremental sales? I mean, it was a great number. When we rolled out Wings of New York, we saw that number more than double for our operating partners that had both brands. So we went to our delivery service providers. Is that time's up? Done? Normally I'm about a third of the way through before I stop. New record. When we went to our third-party delivery partners and we said, what else, where's there an opportunity? So when we created Wings of New York, we thought that it was a great category, meaning wings. We thought we could draw that line back to New York. But we also thought we could create something special, how we did the sauces and the brand positioning and some of those things. So we wanted to do something that we thought we would be able to execute, but also that there was going to be an opportunity to make some money. So when we went to those third-party companies, they said, listen, if you're going to launch another virtual brand, make it Mexican or make it seafood. Well, when they said that, and we had this Arthur Treacher's brand kind of sitting in our back pocket, or remember, I'm the guy shutting them all down, I said, what a great idea to do exactly the opposite of what I've been doing for the past 2.5 years. So we relaunched Arthur Treacher's, and really the focus here is for these ghost kitchens, is Arthur Treacher's can have a new life in that. So I think pretty exciting. So the other thing I want to call your attention to there is it says delivery focused restaurants. Everybody see that? It's a bit of an eye test. So if you're my age, you can't see it. You just have to believe that it says that on the screen. So it says, what's in a name here? And I have to look at this, right? So dark kitchen, ghost kitchen. I'm guessing that the team here, you guys are going with ghost kitchen, either that or like Halloween decorations didn't come down. Virtual kitchen, host kitchen, cloud kitchen, virtual restaurant, delivery. Wow. So I never liked the term ghost kitchen. I use it a lot, but it just didn't make sense to me. And maybe part of what I didn't like about us is back earlier, I was telling you really what tries to drive my behavior and my strategy is what's going to resonate with customers, what's going to resonate with consumers, right? If we can make consumers happy, you know, that's the beginning of some positive financials for us. Ghost kitchen sounds like, you know, dark kitchen sounds like, you know, you're in the back of an alley, you know, hidden and, you know, it's rusty. It's like the beginning of a Freddy Krueger movie or something. And, you know, somewhere in there, there's some chef and he's making a bunch of stuff and, you know, an Uber Eats driver sneaks in the back door. And I know when this category started growing very quickly, you know, around pandemic, people were saying, oh, you know, this is fantastic because you can open these locations in the, you know, the cheapest real estate. It's going to be in a tent in the middle of the woods and there'll be no rent and it's fantastic. And I remember thinking, you know, most people are smarter than I am, but I'm thinking, you're still going to deliver this. So you're driving from the tent in the woods to the city where people live. I don't know. So the term I like is delivery-focused restaurant. And without going through every one of these slides, you know, this is going to be focused on delivery. I don't see that changing because it's so convenient. It answers a guest need. But where I don't want to limit it to delivery, and some of the things that we're beginning to see as this industry evolves, is some really unique things where customers are saying, listen, I like the convenience, but I'm going to drive past your location, which again is probably located in a pretty good location, right? You're not in the woods. You need to be where the people live. So if you're thinking of of opening locations or investing or looking for real estate, you really want to be where people live and work so that the delivery times are down and the food is fresh. I think this opportunity for better locations that are able to focus on delivery also creates an opportunity where consumers are saying, listen, I drive past you. I don't want to race the driver to my house. It just doesn't make any sense. Can I pick up? So within Nathan's, we've already begun to make our restaurants that are focused on delivery open for pickup as well. So some of the things that we look at is how this is going to evolve from something that was very focused on delivery and maybe thinking that it wasn't a great location to locations that, yes, they're focused on delivery, but not exclusively on delivery, and they are locations that are accessible. Some of the things that I think are super exciting within the industries, we talked about Ghost Kitchen Brands. Somebody did. He's gone. Ghost Kitchen Brands. So Ghost Kitchen Brands took over 2 McDonald's locations. Is that exciting? Yeah, I don't know. Not really. Not to me. I mean, Walmart, and they had some space and they went in. Yay. I don't know. What was exciting for me, and again, if I have one skill, it's that I'm a conspicuous consumer. So when I went to that first location that Ghost Kitchen Brands opened, on their first day to make their first transaction, I was the first customer. I'm kind of pushy. What wowed me and where I thought there was some evolution for the industry is it allowed me to buy a Cinnabon, a cup of Costa coffee, Nathan's hot dog, and Wings of New York wings, all with one transaction, paying once, and it was delivered to me in one tray, one box to go. And I was like, wow, that's like me at 17 walking through the Countryside Mall, going, all right, so I want McDonald's French fries and I want, a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, but I kind of want Panda Express. I'm going to be here for an hour and 15 minutes waiting in a lot of lines. So I think as we're thinking of how this industry is going to evolve and grow and get better, I'm 100% behind that early conversation on, is this going up or going down? It is absolutely going up, because this is not as simple as let's build a tent with a stove and get some food delivered to try to stay in business. This is about creating a better guest experience and allowing guests the ability to get what they want, where they want, how they want it, with ultimate customization. So I think that's pretty exciting. There are certainly challenges within this industry. My guys are in their head nodding. They're like, oh, you have no idea. So like, you understand we do all the work, and they do. You want to come up here? No, they don't. Some of the challenges that we face is, if truly our goal is to answer pent-up consumer demand and really cater to the customers, this whole model puts us one position away. We're 2 positions away, and that makes me super uncomfortable. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Nervous shaking heads to the left and right. What I mean is, if somebody goes to Uber Eats and they place an order for Nathan's Famous, I don't really know who that customer is. I also don't know how they feel about that experience. I may get some feedback, probably negative feedback, if they are like, listen, I've been calling Uber, they don't answer, so I'm calling the damn store. Your driver just, or the food was, or whatever, but it's not really quantifiable. It's not rateable. I can't put it in a spreadsheet. I can't analyze it. I can't look for trends. And those third-party delivery partners are unlikely to share lots of information with me for several reasons. One, they want to control that customer experience and their ability to market. And they're unlikely to share information about the driver experience, which, you guys have all had food. I don't have to do show of hands. You've all had food delivered to your house. You had sometimes not the best experience with the drivers, right? You've got a camera, everybody's got Ring cameras now. So it tells you somebody's at your door and you're looking, oh, my food's here and he's eating my French fries. You're not going to get that information from those partners. They may share information about what you did, but they're not going to share information about what they did. So one of the challenges, and I think the Nathan's team's come up with a great way to address it, is we found some technology that sits outside of all of this.
So we can put a QR code on our bag or on our packaging. We control our owned media, and that QR code incentivizes guests to provide us feedback, good or bad. So we can run a contest, we can give them money, we can give them perks. But what it does is it allows us to begin to build a dashboard of everything going on in our system. Was the food hot? Was the order correct? Things about our operations, but also things about the overall delivery mechanism. So when I think of challenges, certainly all of the challenges that the restaurant industry is facing right now, your delivery-focused restaurant is going to face as well. And that's part of why I like that term restaurant instead of kitchen. You know, the help issues, the lack of personnel, supply chain issues. You know, luckily there's no issues with equipment vendors. That's rock solid right now. My check's in the mail, great. So, you know, so any of those challenges you're facing in a traditional restaurant, you're going to face in a delivery-focused restaurant as well. But you're going to add those challenges of being a little further distant. So if you're going to double down, if you're going to invest in this, if you're going to begin to operate, find a way that you can get that customer feedback in a way that you can action against it. So we went over some of the challenges. We went over kind of how Nathan's evolved, and hopefully that was helpful for you. Some of the changes, like I said, this ability to customize your order and order from multiple brands, I think that's super exciting. The ability for you to pick up, maybe in a food hall where I can place an order and I can dine in. I think that's the Ghost Kitchen brand strategy. Earlier, we talked about, you know, who's going to win, who would I invest in, or who would I look to partner with. And I think I was the keynote speaker at the first Ghost Kitchen conference. You're nodding your head, yes. Yeah. I do a lot of these things. I remember the coffee. That was a good coffee one. All right. So at the Good Coffee conference that was somewhere in the southern part of the US, I remember leaving that conference and thinking that the people who have the greatest potential in this industry that is new and creating and emerging and is going to be $1 trillion like in the next 7 years are those that cook the food and those that own or control the brand. Now, I think there's benefits to vendors and equipment suppliers, and they're going to tag along, but those that really are going to benefit from this are those that are cooking the food and those that own the brand. So as you're looking at how you might be able to benefit, that's my advice. So I went through the presentation. There are slides. I think you are going to share this deck. And with that, I will open it for Q&A, and I'll give you your microphone back.
Any questions?
For the feedback that you, like the QR codes on your bags, do you use any services out there, or do you just develop your own forms and responses?
So we partnered, is this on? All right. We partnered with a company called Freets, and Freets was a traditional consumer feedback mechanism, not too different than Medallia or Tell Us About Us. But as we were talking to them, and they were really pitching Nathan's about being a traditional customer feedback mechanism, it just kind of dawned on me that, well, wait a minute, if this is driven by a QR, and that QR can be segmented any number of different ways, maybe this is something that could just be used in a different way. So we found existing technology and really pitched to them a different way to use it. And it required, you know, Jim's the one that's running this for us, required very little manipulation to their system. Really was just our idea and a different way to use it. So it's Freets, F-R-E-A-T-Z is the company we use for that.
Cool, thanks.
Great.
Just curious how you guys handle Ghost Kitchen, well, retails out of those facilities versus brick and mortar retails.
Yeah, what I would say is our partners right now range from huge kitchens like Katopi, where they're doing 40, 50 brands,
to mom and pop restaurants that have their own brand. You know, it's a barbecue restaurant, it's a seafood restaurant, and Reef. Reef is currently our largest partner where they have the pods. So we deal with it on a case-by-case basis. Is there an opportunity for customers to come in, or is there going to be parking? Is there going to be accessibility? If you were to ask me that same question a year or 18 months ago, I'd say, nope, it'll confuse customers. They won't get it. We weren't allowing it. We specifically, our agreement said you cannot do pickup because you're going to confuse somebody when they see, you know, Porky's Barbecue and they're coming in to pick up Arthur Treacher's. I would say that's another one of my decisions that was pointed out to me that probably we could reverse and go a different direction. I think consumers today are sophisticated enough that they understand kind of where some of this food is coming from. So the decision is, if it can be a positive accessibility for the customer, meaning they're not coming in a back door, or, you know, meeting down the alley, if they can come in the front door, if it's signed, if there's parking, more often than not, we're going to allow it.
Hi. What kind of partnerships have you dealt with in the past, and what would you be looking for in the future?
I would say that, you know, we've partnered with all of the operating kitchen partners. So if you've heard of Kitchen United doesn't operate. So they're basically a landlord. That wasn't our model. So what we wanted was individuals who were going to cook the hot dogs. So for those partners who do cook the hot dogs, we partner with Reef and Ghost Kitchen Brands, Franklin Junction, Kotopi, and a large number of mom and pop locations, including some with some pretty good scale. And I got to tell you, that's the ones I love the most, because I think during COVID, we probably helped keep some of those places in business, and that, you know, was a really nice feeling. My advice when you're selecting partners is find a partner that you believe is going to do justice to your brand. And, you know, ask to see their facilities, ask to see their kitchens, ask for references and individuals you can talk to. But again, you're going to be a couple of positions away from the customer experience. So if you've got an operating partner and a third-party delivery company, you're pretty far away from that customer experience, but they are going to represent you whether you like it or not. So I would do as much due diligence as possible. And I think there's a fair amount out there. You can certainly call myself or any of the Nathan's team. We'll gossip with you about what we think of all these guys. So, great.
Do you recommend mix and match with a third-party delivery in your own, or is it all exclusively third-party delivery?
So help me explain.
Like if you're opening up one of these locations, you know, many pizza places have their own delivery. Other restaurants say we'll do only third-party, and some do a mix. What do you recommend for your group?
I think you can always tell if I actually said something or like a reporter wrote something down, because I use the same words all the time. Incremental is probably one of my absolute favorite words. So I developed the delivery network for Subway. And when I was at Subway, we had consultants. They con, they insult, they charge you a lot of money. And they were very focused on, listen, Mr. Smart Restaurant Guy, we think you should sign an exclusive agreement. And I was very focused that basically the math said there was incrementality in adding additional channels. So if you have the ability to do your own last mile, you should. You're able to control that equation. You're going to have a better customer experience, and you're going to own that customer, which allows you to market to them. Having said that, if I owned a pizzeria and I could get even a little bit of incremental sales by going on one of the third-party delivery companies, I absolutely would. Now, might I change the metrics? I might. So when I look at people who've done really smart things, Chipotle, these guys are super smart, way smarter than I am. So they initially signed an exclusive agreement with DoorDash, and they let DoorDash run the whole thing. And they figured out that ultimately they were going to want to control as much of that equation as possible, but they just didn't have the infrastructure yet. So smart, let's launch, let's get the incrementality by partnering with DoorDash. But ultimately, when they built the infrastructure, they wanted people to go to Chipotle.com. So what did they do? Anybody know? Not a lot of Chipotle fans? So they started just generally marketing, saying, so if you come and place your delivery order on Chipotle.com, you get free guacamole. If you go to DoorDash, you pay for guacamole. So the power of guacamole moved people, the power of guacamole moved everyone from ordering directly from DoorDash to moving to Chipotle. But DoorDash still brought all the orders, but it allowed them to control that marketing. So the short answer is, if it's incremental, I would do it. But I would make sure, and this is not something we covered in depth, don't do anything that doesn't provide you transactional level economics that makes sense for you. So whether or not there's a conversation as to whether you should price up your menu, should you have line pricing, should DoorDash be more than your own delivery? The only advice I would say is don't do something that doesn't make money for you, because it's certainly every order that goes out of your restaurant fatigues your personnel and fatigues your system. Make sure it's worth your while.
Let's have a big round of applause for James Walker. James is heading out. He was so gracious to be here today. We want to thank him for his time and his energy and an unbelievable way to kick this off for us. I would like to thank him by presenting him with a gift. And thank you very, very much.
Thanks so much.
Have a safe flight. So this concludes our morning's educational program. Please remember to join one or more of our breakouts this afternoon in the conference rooms beginning at 1 o'clock. They will be rotating every half hour through 2:30, ending at 3. And then at 4 o'clock, we ask that you come back for our panel discussion that will be on the stage here. Thank you very much.